Good morning everyone, welcome to Djuma Game Reserve this morning. Beautiful sunrise here in South Africa. Our apologies for a slightly late start. We've been battling to get pictures from the vehicle, and finally, as I was going back to camp to try another solution, our signal popped up in FC, so we managed to just have a look at this beautiful sunrise. We're out on the open area of quarantine. These giant marula trees that we sadly not going to see elephants shaking for the next few months until the marulas start ripening in January. My name is Mark. I have Andrew on camera, and we'll try and cross over to Scott and Brian a little bit later. Scott and Brent, and Scott's on camera this morning. Is it Brent on camera or Scott on camera?
Scott on camera, Brian in final control.
Oh, okay. Scotty's on camera this morning.
Brent is presenting.
I'm confused. Well, it's a beautiful morning. What should we do? I think we'll head up to the north and we'll go and see what we can find. It's really lovely sunshine this morning. I don't know how far we can go right now. We might not have one of our... First we'll stick around quarantine, maybe go down to the dam. Can't see it from the other side of that termite mound. It's a Koki Franklin giving his morning call. Beautiful colors. Had a small flock of bee eaters fly off out of this marula tree. It seems to be that they're starting to accumulate. Those were European bee eaters. Ready to migrate back to Europe, and as they begin, or just before they head back, they start collecting in larger and larger groups. I guess it's better for them to fly in larger numbers. Tracks from last night. You guys see elephant yesterday?
We saw, remember that big soon to be tusker that me and you saw?
Yeah.
We saw him. The wild dogs ran right past him. But that's about it.
That was very lucky actually to find the wild dog. Tracks of a bull coming down this way. a small herd. We have rather unusual cool temperatures for this time of the year. It's feeling very much like end of April, May for this kind of temperature. And I wonder what it'll have, what sort of effect it'll have on vegetation. I know that when I think back in time of certain species of plants that reach maturity in a good summer when there's the right sequence of rain and rainfall and sunshine, that the plants mature at a steady rate, and how prolific some of them flower, and how much it is different this season, how fewer there are of certain things, and also how much are they in the right ones? No.
Yeah.
Right. Shouldn't be there.
No, it's right like that.
I don't know, I shouldn't question. Is there sound problem?
I can hear you coming through on my earphones perfectly.
Oh, okay. One of those days, is it? Electromagnetic fields and interference, solar flare. Now, does that mean that what I'd like to hear from is any of the viewers who can hear me clearly? It would be nice to know, or if everybody's experiencing the problem. Brian, how's the sound coming through to FC? I'm trying to speak loud. Well, you can't speak too loud. Okay. Well, that's going to be difficult for me to say anything then. We can start off here at Djuma Water Algari Dam. Well, I was saying, for those who can hear, that the flowers haven't been as prolific this year, and some of them haven't grown as tall. I think the intermittent rain that we've had hasn't helped very much. And now cooler temperatures, I think we could say it's clearly a new weather pattern. Okay, well that's good to know. That's good to know. I get worried. Even there's a single hippo again. know, I'll try and get everything on this side of it. For now. Battling the camera angle is quite important this morning because we have a young man whose name is Tulani. He's doing some independent filming, independent projects of his own. The assistance of Yuri from one of the local villages, and has a plan to make movies for, I suppose, environmental education. Yeah. Amongst other things, amongst local villages, local inhabitants, mostly people who live just outside the reserves. And these communities that we have, okay, let's move along and talk while we drive. We might get up to Buffelshoek Dam and see what's happening with all those hippo up there. But while it's early morning, I'd like to just carry on going, because sometimes there are things on the road that might have not yet gone to sleep, some nocturnal animals. Cover a little bit of ground. Anyways, a lot of the communities outside the reserve are sort of fringe communities, because municipalities and local government, because they're such outlying areas, the services that these villages receive are very, very little, and they often have to be pretty much self-supporting, and so there is a little bit of subsistence farming, and and of course cattle are a very important resource or asset. But with the tourism industry, a lot of people living outside the reserves are the people who work within the reserves, and so there's a much higher number of people being supported off of one person's income than you will find closer to the cities, closer to the main centres, where there are far more jobs and better resources. And what Tulani is trying to do is trying to highlight the importance of not only wildlife and the tourism industry for the work that is provided, the job opportunities that are provided to local communities. A lot of buffalo tracks. But a very important point is that without these job opportunities and without parents having decent salaries coming in, youngsters can't get the education they need, especially our young entrepreneurs and young people who really want to further themselves without the assistance of the government and the benefit of the finances to go to university. So, hats off to Tulani, and I hope things go well. Let's see, let's carry on up Central Road. I think get a dodgy signal there. We're battling to get a signal from Wendy for some reason, and I can't go into areas where we're not going to have signals, and we'll try and keep this camera up and running as long as we can. So I think let's do that. Sounds like we've just managed to get signal from Wendy. Going to cross over to Brent with Scott on camera. The two of them, I can just imagine, two naughty boys on that vehicle. Well, let's go and see what they're up to, and I'll see you a little bit later.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome on Game Drive this morning on a chilly but still quite sunny morning. For a change, we've got Scott on camera this morning, and Brian is in FC, and Alex is going to have a morning off, have a little lie-in. So just to let you know what we've been up to, We've headed back into that area around Treehouse Dam to look for leopard tracks again. So far, no luck, so we're going to continue on. We're going to do the triangle around the dam. If we don't have any tracks then we're going to head further down towards Twin Dams. And I hope everyone's feeling lucky this morning. We need to break this leopard duck. There definitely seems to have been a bit of a change in the temperature. Much cooler in the mornings and in the evenings now. So it could be the beginning of our sort of colder season. We don't really have the 4 seasons like you experience in the northern hemisphere. We've just sort of got wet and dry, or hot and not so hot. Although it can get quite chilly here in the mornings, especially in the open vehicle. Even though it's only maybe 5 or 6 degrees C, it feels probably below 0 because we've got the wind coming onto us. And you guys will see me add layer after layer as soon as it does get cold. Not a big fan of the cold. The nice thing about the temperature dropping a bit, it does mean the predators are going to be moving a little bit longer during the day, which gives us a longer period of time to find them while they are moving. I have to say 2 of my favorite times of the year in the bush are as winter sort of starts, as you get that chill and the leaves on the trees start changing, and then at my absolute favorite time is the end of the dry season, and we have hyena tracks. What we can do while it's still cool and there's a good chance that the leopards are moving, we're going to keep checking likely leopard areas, but if we don't get any luck, then we're going to probably go check one of the hyena dens and see if there's any activity around there. Quite fresh elephant dung on the road. I'm starting to see spots. Every termite mound I sort of have to have another look at. So you confirm, is that Nisakai active?
I'm making my way there. Turning down now. I just want to find if anybody was in the area.
Copy, thanks.
Well, fortunately Scott's on the vehicle, so Scott, where's the secret leopard?
The secret leopard track is back if we go onto Philemon's Dip.
Philemon's Dip, where we went through earlier this morning.
So if we are in that area, it is a good idea, we should do it.
We'll definitely check there if we don't come up with anything anywhere else. There's a suggestion from Andrew on the other vehicle. He suggests that we should call that spot Ingwe Alley, Leopard Alley. Probably quite an apt name. Oh, I hope he's going to sit for us. Nope. Oh, let's see if he stops a little bit further. There's a crested barbet, very pretty bird. Here we go. There he is. Oh, and there he's gone. He was busy, so it looked like he was cleaning his bill there. Getting ready for the morning. Preening. Getting ready for a full day out. Foraging. I think these leopards have got a grudge against me. Always keep checking the marula trees for a tree climbing impala. Copy, thanks. Mark coming. Just to let you
Welcome back, folks, to this side of Djuma. Some old leopard tracks here. Looks like it might have even been Karula. but we're almost on our eastern boundary. Somehow lost Brent and Scott. Whoa! A roller chasing a roller. Kudu in morning sunshine. I'll have to come back and have a look. Although the tracks go into Torchwood. They were sleeping here not long ago. I was hoping we could sneak up on these kudu. Morning, Nancy. Nancy's in Reno, Nevada. He's good. The young male. I'm not going to get closer as yet. Two young males. Don't want them to disappear into this thick bush. One of the females ran back across the road. Nancy is asking about weather change. So those are 3 young males. That means that there's got to be at least 3 females with this group, because they're all still with the females. 1 female across the road. I think there might be some more cows deeper in where those little boys have gone into the bush. Nancy's saying that they're experiencing different weather. They're experiencing quite a drought over there in the southwest. And how is this weather affecting the animal behavior, or how is it affecting the animals? It can affect them quite severely. Sometimes when temperatures drop unexpectedly, animals, especially sort of the older generations of animals, I've known times when we've had severe cold snaps and some of the sort of older kudu have died. There was a couple of years ago, just at the beginning of summer. It was 2.5 years ago, I think it was, if I remember correctly. There was, after a severe rainfall, a temperature drop that killed off a lot of nyala and another private reserve that I know of, because the nyala tend to stay in the low-lying areas they were along a riverbed, and obviously the river, being the lowest point, gets the coldest air. I'm sure it has a large effect on every different type of animal, and then of course every species individually. I mean, if you think of the reptiles who are the most affected by colder temperatures, and that it's harder for them to move around, so they don't hunt as much. I suppose the insect world is somewhat similar. Animals need to stick to thickets to stay warmer, and it becomes perhaps a little bit easier for predators, certain predators, to get to them. And if I move forward again, and keep our eye on this this last cow. You see, this is a good example of where we're seeing one individual, and we at the moment can't see any others, but we know that there is another group, or there is the rest of the herd here. whether she's the lead female and she's decided to move that way and the rest of them are hiding because we're here, not sure, but this is why sometimes we get the impression that animals are alone, because although they're together. It's not easy to see her though. Sometimes kudu stand still if you can't see me, or rather if I can't see you, you can't see me. Standing still is a good defense mechanism for kudu, being such large mammals. But also just for listening, looking and listening to see what's ahead of her. Probably listening for maybe alarm calls, maybe listening to the certain sounds not happening. You know what it is like when you're walking through grasses and the crickets stop calling and the grasshoppers stop chirping because of the presence of a large mammal. Sometimes that lack of sound is as much of an indicator than as an alarm call. Anyways, from here I'm going to hand you back to Brent to see what he's got for you. I'm going to continue to look for something else for you. So I'll see you in a little while.
Welcome back, guys. And see, Scott and I have bumped into an old buffalo bull, or on his own, as far as we can see. Also quite nice is an adult oxpecker with 2 juveniles on his back. And we're quite close to a drainage line here. Oh, it looks like he's settling in. He's gonna lie down. Doof. When you're tracking on foot or walking, these guys are probably your biggest concern. They like to spend their time around the thickets and water holes, quite often where you're looking for predators. And also because they're towards the end of their lives, a lot of people consider them grumpy, but it could just be a combination old, arthritic, with maybe the hearing is not as good as it once was. Oh, excuse me.
Bless you.
So quite often when you're walking or tracking in these thicker areas, the buffalo and you will get a fright. And quite often in the thicker areas it can be a little bit close. So he's sort of within that flight or fright range. And being a buffalo, he sort of looks down his nose and takes a few steps towards you. But definitely if we're walking, by far the biggest concern is these old buffalo bulls. They can sleep in a thicket or on the edge of a dam in a reed bed where you just don't see them till the last minute. So I've got a question for everyone out there. So we've got a red-billed oxpecker on this buffalo. In this area there's another species of oxpecker that occurs, but it's a lot more rare to see in this part of the world. So can anyone tell me what the other species of oxpecker that all of us look for every time we see an oxpecker, just in case it might not be a red-billed? And send your answers on Twitter to #SafariLive or via email at questions@WildEarth.tv. And you can see him ruminating away there. and the coloration on his horns is from scratching his horns up against trees. He seems to have quite yellow coloration, so it's difficult to say exactly which tree he's been scratching his head on, but quite often they do get a red coloration. That's normally when they've been scratching on guarri bushes or tamburti trees. I've heard lots of different theories about why they do it. Some say it's to look more impressive and menacing, others to look more attractive to females. But I think it's probably just that his head gets itchy from time to time. Very difficult to prove. There's the adult oxpecker. Oh, that is correct. Everyone's on the ball this morning. Yellow-billed oxpecker. Quite strangely, they're quite rare in this area. You occasionally see them. The most of the time you do see them on buffalo, and the only other animal I've seen yellow-billed oxpecker on in the Sabi Sands is zebra, strangely enough. But a really strange thing is that when you move north into Botswana and Zimbabwe and Zambia, the inverse is true. The red-billed oxpecker is the more rare, and the yellow-billed oxpecker is the more common. All over South Africa in the last 20 years, there's been a big effort to reintroduce oxpeckers all over the country. The reason is they took a serious depleting sort of from the 50s into the 80s, and that was from different pesticides that were used on domestic animals like cows, and a lot of those pesticides poisoned the birds. But now in the farming community, with use of ecologically friendly pesticides and that, and the reintroduction of red-billed oxpeckers, they've managed to come into areas where they've been extinct for 30 to 50 years. So it's really nice to see. It's a bit of a success story that's happening with the reintroduction of an integral part of the sort of ecological system. So I think we're going to leave this old boy to chew his cud and try not get too irritated with the oxpeckers in his ears. And oh, you can see the little one's just getting into his eye there, but well, there we go, getting irritated with the oxpeckers. So we're going to go across to Mark to see what Mark's found, and we're going to continue on looking for some leopard tracks. So enjoy whatever Mark's got.
Let the elephant finish its.
Well, my day has just taken a really good turn for the better, and I'm hoping it has the same for everybody out there too. Not that well, it is. For me, it's important. I haven't seen an elephant for a couple of days, so I'm really happy. Most of the herd has actually crossed through this sort of quite a dense bush willow area, but they seem to be heading down towards Buffelshoek Dam. There's another female up ahead that's just moved into some bushes. This is a youngster lagging, saying hello, lagging behind, picking certain grasses that grow along the edges of the termite and on top of termite mounds. They don't grow, those grasses don't grow away from the termite mounds. Shaking a lot of sand off of the roots, trying to peel a lot of the dry grasses off of the edges. Morning, Marco. Marco's in New Jersey wanting to know if I've ever woken up to a frosty ground over here. only a couple of times, but not total frost, only patches. You see the whole herd just moving in the background. Seems to be quite a lot of ellies here. I can try and make my way in if we lose this little one. For now we're gonna stay here. I remember there was a time in Thornybush, when we were in Thornybush a couple of years ago, we had frost on the ground and down in the Timbavati River. And there was a time here at Djuma a few years ago where there was a band of frost that had come in, and you could actually see how this cold air, this frosty air, had licked the leaves on a line of trees down in the drainage lines, and we actually found a chameleon that must have died of the cold overnight, because it had, as we've seen at night when we're lucky to, when it starts getting dark, how chameleons curl up on the ends of, well, sometimes on the ends of branches if it's warm, but if it gets cooler they'll curl up deeper into the heart of the tree. And how this particular chameleon, it had frozen, and I don't mean frozen, ice frozen, but it had become so cold that it actually died, and it had died with its claws still clutching, its back feet still clutching the branch. It was quite a sad sight to see, because obviously there are a lot of animals, and the plants for that matter, here in what we call the low veld. This is a fairly low-lying area, about 1,000 feet above sea level, and we don't typically get frost here. Typically we shouldn't be getting below 10 degrees Celsius. But what is typical anymore, and weather patterns are constantly changing. They have done so since the beginning of time. So I think we as humans just try and find patterns to things, and we've been maybe very lucky over a few decades where we got used to weather that was being pretty consistent. But there definitely is change in climate, and there is definitely change on the cards for the planet. And in an area that has never had frost, that has never had very cold temperatures, the plants haven't grown and adapted accordingly, and neither have the animals. So naturally there's going to be change, and I think he doesn't like me talking. But also the herd's moved on. It's time for little ones to catch up with the rest of the crowd. Morning, Katrina. Katrina is in Washington. I want to see if I can somehow keep up with these lilies, because it's very thick in there. And to just go crashing through bushes, it's going to probably just push the herd further away. But I'm going to go around to another road. There's a little bit of a gap. I see a big female making her way towards, well, they're heading west. Katrina wants to know if there are any plants that elephants don't eat. That requires some thought. I'm sure there are many, Katrina. Oh, found a baby marula tree. Oh. A lot of round leaf teak here. One thing I can tell you, Katrina, there are of all the things. Oh, what's it over? Of all the things that elephants do eat, sometimes there are parts of the plant that they don't. Here's a grass that they won't eat. This is a thatching grass. There are a lot of grasses that they won't eat. There are things that are unpalatable, and there are things that are inedible. makes a difference. This is the round-leaf teak, and I'm going to try and talk to you while I drive, because I want to go and see if I can head them, well, not head them off, but meet up with these ellies around the corner. You can see how this elephant has chewed all the bark from where it broke this piece of teak off of its base. This is where the base was, and it has twisted this in its mouth, chewing the bark as it goes along all the way up to the first fork. And it's typical of how elephants utilize round-leaf teak. That is why when we have a look here just a little bit to the left, in fact we'll find some more, this very low teak never gets into trees. It never becomes a tree. It stays as a little shrub, because the elephant constantly cropping the tree from the base, so it's always recopping from the base in the same manner. So it's actually elephants farming a specific type of tree for its food source, its very specific food source. On a sustainable basis. Here's some more here on the right. Just see that there's lower vegetation that's kept at sort of elephant eye height below the general crown of bush willows and marulas. This bright light green layer that's just above the height of the grasses. Looks like shrubbery, actually round leaf teak being farmed by elephants. Plants that they don't eat, there are. I think there are a lot of the plants, especially some of the plants that may be unpalatable generally because of high tannin levels and things like that, that they might use a little bit of medicinally. I guess there are some plants that are poisonous. I know that elephants won't touch any of the euphorbias, which are what we call candelabra trees. They look very similar to a cactus. The euphorbia family of plants, a very large family of plants, and a lot of them, well, one of the characteristics of the euphorbia is that it carries a white milky latex which is poisonous. Somehow black rhino eat it, but I guess they've adapted for that. It would take me a while to try and think of something that they don't eat offhand. I'm sure there are hundreds of plants that they don't. I don't know all the plants that exist here. I mean, I'm still learning. It's going to take me the rest of my life. I still won't know all the plants that will exist in one area. But generally, almost everything, all of the trees, the majority of the trees that we see, some part of them is utilized by elephants. If not, in some cases, all aspects of it, the bark, the roots, the branches, the leaves, the fruits, sometimes even the flowers. Interesting question from Texas, from Marianne. Good morning, Marianne. Wanting to know, at what age do elephants get full use of their trunk? I said, gosh. I think if I can start the answer with an analogy, and I'm sorry if I'm not giving a very direct answer. It's if we can look at humans and elephants as being maturing and aging on a par, and if we look at the abilities of human children from about kindergarten age going through to say about 10 years old, and the development of dexterity. Sorry, I've got a spider web on my face. the dexterity that is developed by children. It takes a long time for us as kids to write properly, to be able to handle pens, to be able to handle knives and forks, to be able to have full use of our hands. I guess it only gets into our teens. I would say it's pretty much the same. But elephant, you'll find a 2-year-old, 3-year-old elephant using its trunk. But the finesse, the finer coordination of things only really, I suppose, happens closer to the teens as they're going through puberty. That ability to be able to scoop up some sand or mud for that matter and throw it on a particular part of the body, to learn how to toss it in the air, know where it's going to land on the body, to be able to pick that one little leaf or pick up something small off the ground. I don't think I could say for definite that it's a specific age, but it's something that's continually being refined.
Sorry, Mark, there was a nice wolf spider in the sun that day. I'm going to pick it out.
Tell me when the best
When?
when is now. Maybe I can hear those elephants. Be nice to see if they're going to head to Buffelshoek Dam. This is now going to be a common sight for us as we head into April because of the mature. These spiders maturing this time of the year, they become very prominent. When they're very small, their webs are very, very low to the ground or very close to vegetation because they've got to catch very small insects. As they get bigger, the size of insects or the size of their prey gets bigger, and so their webs get higher and higher to catch the larger insects that fly around. Big grasshoppers, sometimes sadly mantises. Okay, so I want to move on to try and see if we can pick up this herd of elephants. I'm sure we will. Morning, Albert. Albert is in Canada. Paper. Sorry, just dropped something. Oh. What animals migrate? None, not that I know of. Not here in Djuma. Animals pretty much here all year round. Well, you see, Djuma is only a very small portion of the Sabi Sand, which is just a small portion of the Greater Kruger National Park, and there are vastly different habitats over the millions of acres that the Kruger Park covers, and so there is seasonal use of different areas. It's not quite like a migration. It's not like the animals all collect together and like the wildebeest up in East Africa and then move to another area en masse. That doesn't really happen, but I suppose one could say that there is a fair amount of animal movement. There's a fair amount of seasonal use in different areas. Elephants have large areas that they roam through. Elephant, zebra, wildebeest, giraffe, I suppose, are your main species that cover large areas over different periods of the year. I think that elephant is still a little bit further behind us, so I'm not sure. We can try and wander around a little bit around Buffelshoek Dam until they get there. I'm assuming by animals you mean mammals. If we're speaking animals, we can also speak birds. Of course, there are a lot of birds that migrate. Whether it's up to Africa or Europe or Asia, even as far as the Russian steppes. Copy, has he got track? Wow. Still a lot of hippo here at Buffelshoek Dam. And a giant kingfisher just flew. Oh, we got to try and get him on there. Come back. Oh, it's just getting disturbed by the birds. That is a pity. Did you manage to catch a glimpse of it?
Yeah,
not quite. Nice to know there's a giant kingfisher around. Nobody seems to know what happened to that hippo calf that died or that was here. I guess was most likely taken out of the water by hyena. Now, hippo do not swim, I need to emphasize. So although you can see these hippo moving around, their feet have to be on the bottom at all times. Gives an indication of depth. They might be actually just standing on back legs.
The elephants are here, Mark.
Pardon?
The elephants are behind us.
Elephants are behind us. Goody goody. I thought they might be coming this way. So we want to just, for now, they're going to come. This is going to be fun. Hope. Let's see if I can just. Maybe they need to come where I am right here because this is the easiest access to the water.
The giant kingfish is back.
Giant kingfish is back.
Let's move your head.
Flying around. Landing on that termite mound. There we go. That's how it's... Alright, the Ellies are going to come through here now. I will need to be able to get to a position where we're going to see them as they come down to the water. I'm going to move back a little bit, I think. Morning to Vet Tech in Arizona. Okay, so they're going to head to the other side of the dam perhaps. Some of them. Thanks for the reminder, Vet Tech. Guess we're using that name this morning. And something I wanted to mention actually was Kenya's just recent, I think it was yesterday, if I'm not mistaken, yesterday or the day before, the decision of the government to burn tons and tons of ivory as a message to, I suppose, the world that is still using ivory as a commodity, that there is no value to it. Something that helped with poaching back in the late 80s when Richard Leakey did the same thing. That did make a little bit of a difference. Okay, it's going to try and move again. I think we'll just, for now, stay on this side of the dam. We've got beautiful light. There's still some more Ellies. There's still another big female with her calves. Maybe I won't move it all. We'll just sit quietly. Another big group coming down. Gosh, she's a very large cow. And I think I know that big girl behind the back with that very long tusk. These are matriarchs of note. You okay with this angle, Andrew?
Yeah, no problem.
Anyways, VetTech was asking if we have an elephant poaching problem here in Kruger. Unfortunately, it has started. Sadly, we have had a few incidents. Something's wrong with the protection of our parks. That was never a problem in the past, and we're now suffering from quite a severe poaching crisis. Family groups that are meeting, they might not have known that they were together, that they were going to be meeting up. They might have, but they weren't traveling together. The second group with the two big females came from a different angle, so we didn't. That wasn't the group that we saw earlier. The group that I've been trying to follow as the first group that arrived. So these are family groups meeting. It seems to be that those can go left a little bit. That big female that's trying to encourage that calf down. She's trying to help it somehow. It'll be interesting to see what she's doing. Trying to encourage the little one to come down. There's a step there that the little one's battling with. And there, the other one's showing, the other one is going to show it how to go down backwards maybe. A little bit steep for the little one, and it looked like the big female was actually trying to help her, and the younger one now showing it how to turn around and come down backwards. Come on, I helped a little. There, backwards. You shouldn't laugh, but it. Using her foot to make sure that the little one doesn't fall. That is extremely gentle. There you go. Tapping it on the butt with her tail. We're just going to quickly go to Brent and you'll come back to the eddies. Brent's got something quickly before that disappears, and we'll come back here in a sec.
You said, see what you say, see if you can see anything.
Hi, welcome back guys. Just a quick cut from Mark. Scott and I were going past an old hyena den site and we just saw dust billowing. So we decided to stop and wait. We couldn't see it. Now, can anyone see anything in this picture at the moment? So it's going to zoom in shortly. So a little bit of patience, and the answer to who was digging out the hole came clear. There we go, guys. And he's been digging it up, and now it looks like he's having a little rest. Nice, very nice curved set of tusks on it. I can't see whether it's let me just have a quick look. It's a female as well. And it's quite interesting. You don't often see them in this sort of position, and you can see how dirty her nose is. So what she does, she backs into the den, into the hole, and then she excavates using her nose and then pushes all the sand out the entrance with her nose. But it's quite nice to see them in this position rather than just sort of out in the middle of the bush. And a quick question for everyone there. Can anyone tell me why a warthog always goes into their hole with its backside first? Send your answers to #Safari Live on Twitter or on email to questions@wildearth.tv. Okay guys, we're going to shoot back to Mark very quickly. The elephants seem to be on their way, so off to Mark.
Well, with cooler temperatures there isn't any splashing and swimming. It's possible that it's going to warm up and maybe they're not going to be too far from the dam. Maybe later they'll come back with if it's hot, come and swim. What's interesting is that they've been displaying towards the other side of the dam there as they've come away from the water. There seems to be that they're concerned about something in the bushes over there. They were sort of flaring their ears and listening. Just a quick drink, time to move on. Two little boys pushing around. Oh, those. I wonder where that very little one is now. Must be tucked under the legs of those big cows. These two little boys are having a pushing match. Question from Florida from Andre, asking the funniest experience in the past. Gee, that's hard. I'd love to be able to recall things. Sometimes when I haven't been asked, sometimes I can. There goes that little one in the back, being kept close to mom. Funniest experience. I remember there was a wonderful experience that I had with Leshan on camera. We were with a herd of elephants and they were in a mud hole. There was a digging hole where they, in the riverbed, they had dug. I suppose some of the diggings were for water, but this particular hole was a mud hole. They had dug it because it was into the clay layer of the riverbed, and it had filled up with enough water that it started getting the clay all mushy. And I remember one young elephant digging, and she was slinging mud our way. She was actually flinging mud at us, and we got covered in water and sand and mud. It was quite funny. There was one of my first drives here with a herd of elephant one evening was also meeting up with a herd that had a young female that took interest in me, and she picked a bush and put it on her head as a hat and then came and stood in front of the vehicle. It was a rather comical thing. I'd have to think about it, Andre. I'd have to, off the top of my head, it's hard to come up with with something, but it'll come to me. Bye-bye, boys. Two little boys running away. Wonderful witnessing things from a distance like this, because you know that you're not influencing them at all. We're not changing their direction. We're not changing their moods. I don't even think they know we've been watching them. There's definitely been something across the dam there. I think we need to go and have a look. Where did that giant kingfisher go now? What a fantastic experience. So I'm going to go and see what we can find on the other side of the water. I need to take 1 or 2 layers off. We're going to see if Brent's still busy with that warthog. So I'll hand you over to Brent again, and I'll see you shortly.
Hi guys, welcome back. You can see the warthog's still resting after some serious excavation. You can see all the fresh dirt. Okay. Let's see. Georgianne says that the tusks are facing the opening so it can defend itself from predators and young. Joanne with the same answer. Both Chantal as well. All of you are correct, and it is a defense mechanism, because quite often lions and leopards will actually wait outside a warthog hole for them to come out in the morning. So if they come out with the sharp end first, it gives them a better chance of being able to survive. And Virginia, Laura and Rosalie also got it correct. Oh, there we go. Looks like she's getting up now. Oh, stretch. See how she's very cautious when she comes out. Chop, and off she goes. So warthogs often do that. They'll come out. Listen quickly, there's a second one coming out, a sub-adult. See, stop at the mouth, listen a little bit, and then get away from that point quite quickly, because it is a dangerous spot, because there could be a leopard above or behind. So they listen quite carefully, listen again. Oh, and there's another one coming. Chop, chop. Oh, that's incredible. What a wonderful little sighting. It's really nice, and it's quite rare to be able to see them coming out in the morning. And they are getting moving later now because of this cold spell we're having. So that's the reason they're getting out now, as opposed to sort of an hour earlier, which they probably would have been doing in the last couple of weeks. But that's a really nice special sighting, one we don't get to see too often out here. So we're going to still continue on. Hopefully we do find some fresh leopard tracks, but that was definitely a nice little interlude. It's really interesting to see how they stop, and you watch the ears twitch in all directions before they sort of shoot out of the hole. And in areas where you don't have a high predator density, that behavior is not so apparent. And the sun is now out in full force, so it's time for my hat. I think it's nearly time to start peeling the layers of clothing as well. Guys, don't you think Scott's doing a fantastic job on his first solo camera experience?
Well, thank you, Brent. Those are kind words, but there's lots of work to do.
Good morning, Lynn from Toronto. Lynn would like to know if warthog tusks are also ivory, and if so, are they poached? Yes, Lynn, you could consider warthog tusks to be a form of ivory. The main difference is that elephant ivory is far more fine, so there's less grain in the tusk, and also being much bigger. Ivory is normally used for ornamental carvings. It would be very difficult to carve something big or elaborate from a warthog tusk, just because of its size. Warthogs are poached, but not for their ivory. In the sort of subsistence poachers, poachers who poach to feed their family, warthog is poached for meat. One of the reasons they're quite easily poached is because they do live in a den like that, and it's very easy to set a wire snare at the entrance to one of their warthog holes. Good morning, Bear from Canada. Bear would like to know whether the warthogs will go back to the same den or hole. Quite often they do, but they will have a few different holes in an area they use. And those are quite often the same holes used by hyenas as dens, porcupines, and they're all originally excavated by aardvark normally. But I mean, in certain cases, or actually quite a lot of cases, a lot of those dens will be shared. I have seen in the Sabi Sands, I've seen porcupine and hyenas sharing den in a reserve just to the north of us here. I've seen warthog and porcupine sharing, and I've seen warthog and hyena even coming out of the same den. That was on a camera trap though. We weren't lucky enough to actually physically see that. But yes, they do use the same den, but also have other dens in the area that they will use. Leadwood.
That comes out from that road earlier that we saw the cut line.
So there's a bunch of you guys who are asking about the wild dog. Unfortunately, I've been listening to the radio, and there hasn't been an update on the wild dog. They did cross to the west yesterday, and I don't think as so far anyone has found them yet this morning. This morning before we got started, Scott and I were chatting about them, and we both sort of got our fingers crossed that they're going to den somewhere quite close by, because there are, at the moment, this sort of the month of March. Sorry, are we in May already? March? April, sorry. Sort of April and May, they start really covering really big ground and searching for a good den site. They again will also use the same type of den as the warthogs and the hyenas. And we're hoping that they decide to den close to us, so we have really good viewing of them over the drier months. Mark coming.
This is Mamba Road, eh?
Good morning, Sherry from Ohio. Sherry would like to know if the tusks continue to grow on warthogs. Yes, they do, but they grow quite fast in the early part of the warthog's life, and then they'll slow down as the animal gets older. So like an elephant tusk, they will continue to grow throughout the animal's life. So I'm just going to double check my map here.
This is Mamba Road, so it runs east-west, kind of parallel to Central, but south of us.
So we're on Mamba Road, thanks Scott. What we're going to do is we're going to head down Mamba Road and try the drainage lines again, see if we can find any fresh leopard tracks. See, I told you, Scott. Everyone's agreeing. So we just got a message in that everyone is congratulating Scott on his camera work.
Well, thank you very much for all those kind words. It's really good fun to try something different out here and enjoying this different role and the challenges it presents to the cameramen. It's not as easy as they make it look. It certainly isn't. Tina's just asked me a question asking if I'm feeling the urge to start talking or presenting when in a sighting. And to be honest, Tina, I'm enjoying listening to Brent and picking up on what he has to say about things and also taking a break from talking. So I do have to sometimes bite my tongue though, because you do kind of get into autopilot, I guess. So when I hear Brian's in final control sending the questions through, sometimes feel the reaction would be to immediately answer it, but thanks for that question, Tina. It's a good one, but enjoying listening to what Brent has to say.
Good morning, Andre in Florida. Andre believes that I enjoy fishing and would like to know what my most memorable fishing experience is. I've had many, to be completely honest. But probably one of the most memorable freshwater fishing experiences for me was being able to fish a river called the Manyara River in southern Tanzania that hadn't really ever been fished before, and we caught incredibly big tiger fish that were at that time we all thought sort of the southern tiger fish was the same thing, but it turned out that they were a subspecies and they got much bigger than normal tiger fish. I think we got some dwarf mongoose in the road up ahead, but yeah, that was incredible because I mean a really big sort of tiger fish for the Zambezi River is anything from about 6 kilograms, and anything over 8 is an absolute beast, where there your average were about 6 to 8 kilograms, and they have caught up to about 15. My personal best was just under 13 on a fly rod, which is an incredible experience. And then also fishing for tarpon and Kibera snapper and giant African threadfin in Central Africa in the estuaries was an amazing experience. Where did they disappear to? I can hear all the little dwarf mongoose around us. but unfortunately I think the grass is a bit thick here, and there's no obvious termite mound or stump for them to climb onto. Love that little high pitch. Just we'll try see if we can get one to come out into a gap quickly. Just very curious, so they might present themselves, but unfortunately I do think it is a bit thick here. So we'll continue on. You got one there, Scotty?
No, I was just getting ready for one to come across the road.
These leopards are definitely proving to be quite tricky at the moment. When I started, I never thought there was going to be a chance that by this stage I would have seen wild dog more than I'd seen leopard. Good morning, Dara from Ohio. Welcome on Drive with us this morning. Dara would like to know whether I've ever had the pleasure of fishing any of the Great Lakes in the States or Alaska. I haven't. I would really love to. My grandfather, when I was too young to accompany him, used to go fish in Alaska once every 2 years. But as of yet, I haven't managed to get up there. But it is definitely on my bucket list. And not only the fishing, to be able to see some of your wildlife, the Kodiak grizzly bears, elk, caribou, moose. I've seen white-tailed deer in the States, and I've seen black bear, and I've seen coyote. But I definitely would like to experience the fishing and some of the North American wildlife. So we've, what have we got there? Oh, it's gone. So guys, we've just arrived in the drainage line. What's this one called, Scotty?
The Mulwati.
The Mulwati. So, as always, these are good leopard areas. So I think we're going to try to drive in the drainage line for a bit, see if we can find any tracks. Or hopefully even better than tracks, we can actually find an animal. So we did drive down here Well, I drove down here yesterday afternoon, so we will know that anything is tracks in front of us from during the evening. Look, woodlands, kingfishers flying over and calling at it. Definitely going to miss them when they decide when the weather gets cold, much colder, and they decide to head back to warmer climes. Cool, synonymous with the in summer. It's always quite a special feeling driving in the drainage lines because you're a lot lower than you normally are. You're actually lower than the ground, and it gives you a different perspective. Gives you a good idea of what a lot of the animals have to face, because I mean a lot of them are, their eye line is below the long grass, and so we always quite often think, I mean, how does that animal not see that? But if you sort of get down to their level, like we are now, and you look off to the side and you're looking through that grass, you can understand why sometimes they would miss a predator sneaking up on them, or a predator might miss an impala or a nyala, because they're even lower than the prey species. No tracks just yet. Let's think. I'm going to try the drainage line a little bit longer. Got a lucky feeling. Hopefully it works out. Oh, little pushback. Female pushback and some nice lights up ahead. Just gonna stop and get a nice view of her from here before we go closer. So we're not to scare her. Oh, she's disappearing into the long grass. Let's move forward a little bit. Definitely one of my favorite antelopes, pushback. Oh, there's a starling going into its nest. Just go forward a little bit. Oh, there we go. Scotty, if you have a look up in this false, it's come out. Maybe she'll go back in again.
Is it the one on the right there?
The top one. Look. Keep going up.
Okay.
There we go. And if you go popped out of the nest. Hopefully she'll go back in there. The reason the fact that she's still going in must mean she's still got chicks inside. And it's unlikely that she would have made that nest, probably taken it over from someone else. Possibly, I mean, kingfishers often have nests like that, woodpeckers. You can just hear her in the background. She's just off out of shot, but not very clear in the tree. So I think we're just going to wait a couple of minutes, see if she goes back into the nest. And also, it's always good to just keep quiet and listen while you're in the bush. You might pick up alarm calls from prey species, giving us an idea where the predators might be, or elephant herd. You just might hear something, so we're going to keep quiet for a minute or two, and just hopefully she'll pop back into the nest.
I wonder where the bushbuck went.
Yeah, it was right here a second ago. Maybe behind the whiteberry bush.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, looks like she might fly.
Oh, sorry, I didn't even see her sitting up there.
Yeah, it's just up to and she's gone. Oh dear. Well, at least I know next time we come down here, we can keep an eye on that nest and see if it's still active. Let's try find that little bushbuck. She's disappeared into the thickets. Firm copied. So we'll continue on. As I said, I've got a good feeling. I've actually, since I've been here, I've never driven this section of the drainage line yet. So for me, it's always exciting whenever I get to explore a new area of Djuma. And also going forward, it's going to help me to find animals, knowing the property better. Knowing where the little shortcuts to get in and out of the drainage are, which areas certain leopards prefer. That's the exciting thing about going into a new area. You get to learn all the different habits of the animals that are in the area. Oh, big hole. Oh, good morning, Lois from New York. Lois would like to know how Scott feels being on the camera and letting someone else do the guiding. So I'm going to definitely let Scott answer that one.
Well, Lois, to be honest, there's so much on my mind that I'm so glad that I've got nothing else to do other than the task of the camera, because there really is so much to do that
no new updates.
It requires a lot of concentration.
Mark's still following up on reading her.
I'm loving it, I really am. So enjoying hearing Brent and letting him do the
following up around in Yallarat North.
Change for me. I can assure you it's very difficult.
Sorry, Andrew.
To do this camera work.
Looks like a tree's fallen down across the drainage here. think we're going to try go. Oh, I don't know if we're going to make it up there, but we'll give it a go.
I'll go back if I were you.
Do I think we'll make it, Scotty?
Well, if we make it, it's just so thick to get through to the road. But I'm easy.
Okay, cool. I'll turn around. Good morning, Kathy from Indiana. Kathy heard me there refer to a false marula tree, and Kathy would like to know what's the difference between a false marula tree and a regular marula tree, and whether the false marula tree is the male of the regular. Kathy, a false marula tree is a completely different species. The bark, however, sometimes looks quite similar to the bark of a normal marula tree, but they have very, very different fruits. So you've all seen those nice, large, round, yellow or green turning yellow when they're ripe marula fruits. The false marula fruits are actually quite small, sort of smaller than a blackberry or a gooseberry, but they are very, very black and not eaten by as many species. From the mammals, the only animals that I've seen really eating the false marula fruit are monkeys and baboons. Oh, it's a little family of franklin. Oh, they got something good to eat there. There's a little family of crested franklin. It's difficult to see what they're feeding on there, but it could be quite interesting. Scotty, if you just pan out slightly into the left, you see the panicum that's dried. So there's a grass species there. I'm going to just see if we can get it in focus. So as it's got a bit drier, the main stem of that grass, which is called, it's got quite a few, there we go, nice, very nice, Scotty. Got quite a few different names, I think called blue buffalo grass or guinea grass, and so all the seeds you can see have actually sort of fallen off as it's got drier, and I think that's what the franklin are feeding on underneath that, and that grass species comes in quite big thick stands. So if we go back to the franklin, it seems like where the seeds have fallen, there's a whole group of them there feeding on the seeds. I could be completely wrong, but I don't want to disturb them. But I think that's what they're feeding on at the moment. Well, it looks like they're enjoying it. I mean, how many can you count there? I got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Oh, climbing over each other. Very nice and relaxed little group of franklin. We've tried a couple of times to get them nicely on camera this morning, and this is the first group that have just really, really chilled. Oh, little ear scratch. There's a couple of different ages in there. Okay guys, we're gonna cross back to Mark and see what he's got, and hopefully we get some luck with, well, hopefully some interesting animals. So over to you, Mark.
Good morning, everyone. I've been doing a few loops try and find out where these elephant went. They did sort of come this way. When they left Buffelshoek Dam, they headed south. I'm on a road that is somewhat south of there, and so far no sign of them yet. So they're probably still, having had some water, they've probably slowed down considerably now compared to the pace that they were walking prior to their getting to the water, and they're probably feeding. So I not see them again? I did. I'm just not sure which is Torchwood access. Yeah, no, I'm just thinking in relation to sort of Central Road or something in case they can move west. Sorry, just linking up, checking with Brent. So, let's see if we can find something else. This is our live drive here at some place, Djuma Game Reserve. For those of you who are joining us only now. Turning into a beautiful morning. Questions at WildEarthTV, the email address, hashtag Safari Live if you want to tweet, let us know where you are in relation to South Africa. Maybe you're in South Africa, always nice to know if you've got some local viewers. Quite shocking to see how brutal the roller was in trying to beat the snake to death. Jeffrey in Texas, morning to you, Jeffrey. Nice to have you on board with us this morning. Jeffrey's asking, how does it? I think it's a very difficult thing to measure, Jeffrey, but I think one can say that cognizance and intelligence is a lot higher than most other animals. I think one has to look at the physiology of the skull, the brain, the skull, the brain, the size of the instinct. In terms of what it is that they do as elephants, very much everything about elephants is a process of learning and having to be taught. That's the very reason why there is such a long gestation period, why there is such a long childhood. One of the reasons why elephants are one of the only animals who still function after menopause. Once they're no longer reproductive, they still function as adults for a long time. And one of the only reasons for that is because of the amount of knowledge that the older elephants hold or carry that need to be passed on, the nurturing that needs to go with it. I think that would be difficult to compare with other animals, because other animals to some extent are driven so much more by instinct. I think if we have to look at the whole range of life of animals, from your smallest creatures, the smallest single-celled organisms, to animals the size of elephants, I think we can see that there is a difference between how much that organism relies on it, or is dependent purely on instinct, and how much everything about it is just reaction to stimuli, as opposed to the ability to not only react differently to stimuli, but also to modify your own environment, or I suppose it's a spatial thing. How much of the brain is given to inherited instinct and how much of it is given to the capacity for learning? I think those are the two criteria. And I think from the smallest features, which have perhaps the greatest part of it being given over to inherited instinct, and the larger beings having a greater capacity for learning, and sort of everything in between. So you get some animals that have a lot of inherited instinct, but there's still a need and there's still a capacity for learning how to use that instinct within their environment and how to react differently to different things depending on what they are. And so that must be, for me, some measure of how intelligent something can be. If that makes any sense. We look at just things like a lion versus a leopard, for example. Leopards, to a large extent, are very instinctive hunters. Whenever a leopard cub is small, it chases after anything that moves, butterflies, insects, lizards, snakes, while it's waiting for mom when mom goes off hunting. And the learning that it needs is, as it starts chasing after bigger things, how to kill them, what it can and should kill. A huge learning curve is needed to learn that there's certain things that you can't chase after. As opposed to lion are very much similar in that from a young age they learn how to chase things, especially because they're more social, so there is a lot of help, or there's an advantage to living within a family group that lion might live in. But when it comes to actually working cooperatively with other individuals, that is something that has to be learned, or has to be taught. It's not something that just happens automatically. And then you look at something like a cheetah, which has to be taught almost everything. Cheetah cubs have to learn not only what prey is, but how to chase it, how to bring it down, how to kill it, how to open the carcass. There's not very much instinct in their hunting abilities. How one measures intelligence against that sort of thing, I think maybe the more an animal has to learn to survive, must be some indication of how intelligent they must be, because circumstances are never the same out here in nature. Every hunt that an animal does is different. Every day for an animal is different. There are always things that are going to happen in an animal's life that have never happened before, and they have to learn, or they have to know how to deal with certain things. Some of it instinctual, and some of it is merely a matter of experience and learning. Compared to us humans, I'd say elephants are far more intelligent than us within their environment, because it is their environment. Obviously, with us humans, we've been out of it for so long. We have created an entirely new environment for ourselves, where we have, by virtue of our intelligence, become master of our own environment that animals cannot or couldn't really live in without our assistance. But when it comes to us living out here, we're lost. We're the dumb kids on the block. Let me make it. Rephrase that. We're the ignorant ones. Morning, Anna Marie. Anna Marie in the US, asking question whether Well, Anna-Marie's heard that elephants are one of the only other animals on Earth, other than us humans, that can recognize themselves in a mirror. They have that ability to recognize that an image in a mirror is a self-image. That's an exceptionally great question, because that, as far as I'm aware, according to certain behavioral scientists, ethologists, that is a measure of intelligence, supposedly a measure of intelligence. Whether an animal looking at its reflection in the mirror recognizes that as itself or as an individual that might be a threat or a challenge or a separate individual. I think there are enough YouTube clips out there of cats and dogs doing funny things with their image in a mirror. I know that recently, I found some link recently, it was a little while ago, of an elephant that was placed in front of a mirror. I don't think it's been done very often. Obviously it requires a fairly large mirror. And yes, it was evident by her behavior that she knew exactly what she was looking at. I'd love to be able to see a clip of that. I didn't see any video, but I did read something about it. I've got to think of what chimpanzees do. I need to remember whether
they recognize themselves straight away.
Thanks. Actually, Andrew's the best person to answer that question.
Elephants, dolphins,
Chimps,
some
elephants,
birds,
dolphins, some birds. Parrots do, I think.
Yeah, some crows, I think.
Some crows.
Little dolphins, yeah. Gorillas, orangutans.
I've had a vervet monkey. I have friends who have a lodge not far from here. Well, I suppose you can say it's between the Timbavati and the Sabi Sand. And when my Land Rover is parked there, the male, I don't think he's there anymore, but the male vervet monkey of the troop used to sit on my Land Rover and gaze into the side mirror. But I couldn't. I would imagine it was mostly because he thought it was a rival. I don't know if vervets are that.
No, the vervets can't recognize themselves. They're like dogs or cats. No, they can't. As far as I know.
Yeah. I thought that it was mostly because there were youngsters that would look in the mirror and they would always be all over my car. But the the adult male, the alpha of the troop, used to sit on the door, like because I didn't have the windows on the door, windshield folded down, and he would just sit here and just gaze into the mirror. Maybe it was because he thought it was a rival. We're going back across Gowrie Dam. We're going to keep going on the loop trying to find these elephants. I'm hitting myself on the face because of these tiny little flies that can go to me. And of course I miss them all the time, so they keep tickling my face, so I keep hitting my face. And I'm sure these flies have a sense. Time for a worry drive. Oops. Anyone want one?
Maybe.
Not the best quarry to pick branches from, but that might do. Thank you. And you? I don't mind things anywhere else except my face and on and in my nose. Hello, kingfishers. Seem to be a few woodlands kingfishers chasing each other around. we go up Hyena Road, we'll find some sign that goes in. Hyena Road is a very difficult road to find tracks. So that's the Wahlbergs, or is it the brown snake? Plant is farmed quite extensively for its properties. Its leaves that are used as tea, rooibos tea or redbush tea. Very high in antioxidants. No caffeine. It's a caffeine-free, very lovely flavored tea. I love rooibos with honey. Marsha, we don't have rooibos here, unfortunately. It is a plant that mostly grows in certain parts of the southern part of the country, down in the Cape, amongst fynbos, as far as I know. I can maybe find one in one of my books. It's not a very elaborate plant. Quite inconspicuous, really. I might be able to find rooibos in the book. I'll have a look at that for you as soon as we stop for something. But I don't think you'll find rooibos anyway. Kruger. I'm going to have a look at my flower books and tree books, see if I can find you the rooibos. And in the meantime, I think Brent's got something for you. We're going to cross over to Brent again. I'll be back with you in a while. We have taken a track called Hyena Road. I'll see you shortly.
Karula. Swinging a little part in my quarter, flat 10. And
welcome back, guys. We've got some kudu bulls here, but I've just got a report over the radio that someone's found a leopard, so we're actually going to leave these guys and head off. And just what it sounds like is it is a Karula. So sorry, we're going to leave the kudus. It's not that we don't like them, but we need to break this spotted cat duck. The last station, can you go with the exact position there again, please? Station here had the fuzzy Ingwe filament cut line Shabaum. Please come in. Sorry, could you go again with the exact position? I'm heading towards Philemon's dip.
That's my golden Latin there. Got a lot of bars. If you can find it, that's like well done. But yeah, she's got eenmaal kunnen dat je wel plan Charlie, whatever. But go on to Shabam if you want to fly Shabam in Taylor, come down south towards Gary Main, and look where my quarters in Geno West. You can follow my quarters, you know, but yeah. But other than that, take it. Open up.
We'll have to try. Okay, guys. So, another one of the game drive vehicles found Karula, but she's in a very difficult heat. I think she's going to move into an easier area. So I apologize if I'm going a bit fast, but I'd rather like to get there as soon as possible. So it gives us a bit more time to try find her if we have to. This is quite exciting for me. This is a chance to find a leopard, and I know how much all the viewers love Karula. So hopefully the leopard gods are on our side. And we actually drove in that area this morning and we didn't have any tracks.
To the west of Shabam Road.
So from our report, it is quite a big block with no roads that she was in, but hopefully, as I said, luck is on our side this morning. This is Shabam. As I said, his tracks went west off this road, so it's actually further west from where we were earlier this morning, guys. So we actually cut down towards the treehouse dam, and she seemed to have been further west along this road. So we're just going to check very carefully to see where that car's tracks went off the road. And then I think that's possibly our best chance of starting, is to start on where he last had her. Maybe we'll get lucky and a squirrel spots her, or a Franklin, to give us a more exact position. And you never know, she might just come back onto the road for us.
Where he headed off, yeah.
Yeah, so we've got where he headed off. What do you think, Scotty? It might be worth following around if she was heading west.
I'll try and follow his tracks off-road from here.
Okay. Hot on the trail, guys.
Copy will do.
Okay, guys, we're gonna cross across to Mark quickly, while Scotty and I try sort of figure out what's happening in the block, and Mark's got an Ellie on the other side. So enjoy, and hopefully when we come back we will have a spotted cat for you.
There's a mom, there comes the rest of the family. I was starting to get worried that this little one, I've had an experience with Ellie and the rest of the children come out. It's just going to go and join them. I felt it was just a little unusual. This little one is quite a tiny little boy. Being a little boy, I suppose it's not that unusual to be so far away, but I think just being a child, is probably only around a year, maybe a little bit older. Mom just in here, the rest of the family standing in the shade, they're probably resting up, and he's just wandering off a little bit. Normally females don't let their little ones get, especially that young, get too far away. Hello, baby child. Oh, don't eat that albizia. Don't break the albizia. Known as albizias. Some of them look just like acacias. Having said that, look at this little one. Maybe he's trying to be a big shot, showing what he can do to a tree. And Brent is going to head over that way to try and see if he can find her. Now, I had a look through my books. Most of my books are they might slowly make their way to the road. At the moment we can't see them very well, so you're not missing anything. I'm going to wait here on the road. They are getting close to us. But just getting back to it, my books are very region oriented. They only this part of the country, and because rooibos, the bush itself, is so far down south in a different biome entirely, different type of bush, different type of vegetation. I don't have the rooibos in any of my books. Oh good, picture's back. I can just see a tail. It's very thick in there. I can just see a tail swinging. I can go forward a little bit. Quite as I imagined, when we first saw them, they were moving quite fast, these elephants, and that was mostly just to get to Buffalo's Hook Dam so that they could drink, and then once they drank, they're now moving a lot slower, browsing and grazing as they move along. So there isn't really much of a gap to see them until they move, and they're not moving very fast anymore. Maybe this gap. Now, it's taking a little while for these ellies to come through to a place where we're going to see them. So I'm going to stay here and we're going to try and get a good view of them. And in the meantime, I think Brent's got something very special to show you. So once again, we're crossing over to Brent and I'll be back again shortly.
Welcome back, guys. I'm very, very excited. Scott and I have found Karula. I only know it's Karula because one of the other vehicles said so. We followed his tracks. We lost his tracks a couple of times and it took us a little while. But we're very, very happy that we're able to find her. Can't actually see what she's doing there. It does look like she's eating something. She could even be eating feces, but very difficult to see from here. But we're just really, really excited. So this is my first leopard since joining the Wild Earth team, and I'm very, very happy that it's the Queen of Djuma. So it is quite a fitting start at Djuma. The first leopard to find is the Queen. Definitely chewing on something. I'm not even sure when the last time anyone saw her was, but I'm just very, very happy for you guys and for myself and for Scott that we're able to find her this morning. Looking well. There's definitely something on the ground there that's keeping her interest. So I saw on Twitter last night that someone was saying tomorrow is going to be the leopard day, Brent. Tomorrow is going to be the leopard day, and you were right. It's quite thick in here. Thank you very much, Jody Ann from Illinois. I'm sure I will. We're just trying to get around the area she went through is quite thick, so we're just trying to find a way for the vehicle to get around. We should be back with her. in a few seconds. You got her, Scott.
Keep going. She was on the other side.
I got him.
Yeah.
See if she's walk out in front of us. Nope, she's just sticking. Here we go. I love. Sorry, what was the name again? Thanks very much, Suzanne from the Netherlands. She's just giving me a little tidbit that Karula means peaceful. Okay, she's lying down in the shade again, so we're going to reposition so we can get a better view of her.
Another gap back there that was probably
Was better, yeah. This one here.
Just going past.
There's a tree behind us. Morning, Val from California. Val's asking, does it look like Karula could be pregnant? Val, unfortunately, the visual we've had of her so far, it's probably near impossible to tell. But once we get a better view, we will update you on that. Just trying to find you guys the best spot to view her, and I think we have it now. Yep. There she is, the Queen of Djuma. My first leopard photograph since I've been here. Relocated on Karula in the block between Philemon's cut line and Shabam Road. So guys, as you know, I'm new to the area, so if anyone would like to send some information through on Karula, how old she is, how many litters she's had, please feel free to do so. That will help me greatly. And send your answers on Twitter to #SafariLive or an email to questions@WildEarthTV. So Val, with the way she's lying at the moment, it's quite difficult to tell, but I think if I had to hedge a guess, if she is pregnant, it's very early stages, so I'm probably not going to be showing in her belly yet. Oh, I've got an itchy foot. So as it's getting warmer, she's probably going to rest up in this area for the rest of the day. Possibly not in this exact same spot, but somewhere within this general vicinity. Such a beautiful animal. Busy, it looks like. When you see that very sharp, small movements like that, that your domestic cats and dogs do, well, thank you very, very much, Ellen. Ellen sent through an email saying Karula will be 11 on March 15th this year. She has had 4 successful litters, and then on January 1st this year, she lost a cub from her 5th litter. Thank you very, very much, Ellen. Good morning, Rita in Texas. Another little bit of information for me. Apparently the best identifying factor for Karula is the wow on her forehead. Thank you very much, Rita from Texas. Oh.
You can kind of see it now, Brent, just between her eyes.
Between her eyes there. That's what I was getting a shot of. Oh, on the move again. Thank you very much, Lynn from Toronto. She says another identifying fact about Karula is a spot on her neck that comes on onto her chest to form a heart. You got it, Scotty?
Yeah, she's heading towards that area.
Sorry guys, we will try to get you a visual of her again, but it is quite thick in here and we don't want to drive directly up her backside, so we're going to go loop around and try to catch up with her again. We've got a visual of her, so we haven't lost her. Don't worry.
I think she's going to climb up that marula tree for us.
Yes, and Scott says there's a nice marula tree she's heading for, and Scott thinks, and we both hope, she's going to climb up that marula tree for us. We just get round into position. Just stand by with the questions, please, bro. be right. Just stand by one with the questions. I just want to make sure we don't lose her and get into the right position, and I'll come back to the question. So she didn't climb the Marula, or hasn't climbed the Marula yet. Sorry, Brian, can you go again with that question for me, please? Morning, Linda. Welcome on Drive with us. Linda from Texas would like to know whether leopards crave any certain plants or minerals while they're pregnant. Not as far as I know, Linda, but there might be something. Maybe they will eat certain clays that have mineral, but I've never noticed them craving anything in particular while they're pregnant, apart from meat, of course. But I think that's a full-time craving. Such a beautiful leopard. I'm sure all the regulars here are very, very excited to see Karula again. I know she's a favorite of many of yours. I almost feel like a whole wall's been lifted off my shoulders, but we've now finally seen a leopard. And as Scott often says, once you've seen one, all of a sudden they start coming a lot easier.
Why does she keep looking up this tree, Brent?
I know, I've noticed that. I've looked, I can't see if there's any meat or anything in it. Maybe she is still thinking about climbing it when it gets a bit hot on the ground. So one of the reasons leopards like to sleep in trees is when it's a bit hotter and there's a bit more of a breeze up in the tree than there would be on the ground. How's that for incredible camouflage, guys? If we didn't know she was there, could very easily walk past her, drive past her. So she is lying flat at the moment. We will stay here. We're not going to move away in case she does move again. But it is possible she might rest for quite a while now. Be quite a good spot for her to spend the day. Scotty, if you pan out, you come wide. I'll show you now. She's got a nice marula tree that she's lying under at the moment. And also in the afternoon, if she decides to get mobile, Scott's going to pan off to the left a little bit. There's a nice big termite mound there. There we go, it's coming through. There we go. So also, as it gets cooler in the afternoon, she might choose to rest up on top of the termite mound, giving her a good vantage point of everything around. So this is quite an ideal spot for a leopard to spend the day. Incredible camouflage. Good morning, Jen. Welcome on Drive. Jen would like to know, do animals get morning sickness like humans? Jen, to be completely honest, I'm not 100% sure, but I do not think so. The only animals that might possibly, but I would have to double check that when I got home, is possibly some of the great apes that share a lot more sort of genetics with us. Maybe then, but as far as I know, most 99% of animals do not suffer from morning sickness. She still, even while she's down there, keeps looking in this marula tree. Can't see anything in it. Maybe she's just contemplating climbing. So we're going to try reposition, see if we can possibly get a better view of her from the other side. But when she's in the grass like that, it's always going to be quite difficult to see her. There we go. We can see a bit more of her from this side. There's sort of a less grass in the way. But her eyes are closed. Oh, opening and closing. I love the way a lot of animals do that. Even though her eyes are closed, her ears are still moving. And you've got ear, at one stage there she had ears facing in different directions. So even though she's resting, she's always conscious of what's around her. Head down. Well, it looks like the leopard gods were on our side this morning. I won't lie, I both got myself were quite tentative coming in here. The guy had left us sort of 10 minutes before in one of the biggest blocks with no roads, and we sort of followed his tracks, lost his tracks. And I was having my doubts whether we were going to find her this morning or not. And then, fortunately, she sort of just sat up at the right time, and there she was, about 10 meters from the car.
Yeah, we got lucky.
Very lucky this morning.
I'd be interested to know where she came from, because like you said, we did drive down Shabam Road, check for tracks, so she could have come from west of here, Rebecca's Road.
Right. Although there were vehicles that drove Rebecca's this morning.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, maybe she came from, I don't know, very difficult to say. And also I wonder, because we didn't hear her get called in on the radio, whether she was just bumped or did they actually follow tracks. All the mysteries to be answered. Most of which we'll probably never know. I'm just very, very happy to have found her. I had a tracker I worked with, and obviously after working in the Sabi Sands, you get very, very used to really quality leopard sightings. Not so much where I was in southern Tanzania, and we used to often see just sort of flashes or a tail in a bush or a couple of rosettes through a thicket, and I was always like, oh, we need to find better leopard sightings for our guests. And old Indimboro used to turn around and go, but a leopard is a leopard. If you see one spot or you see one tail, your guests have still seen a leopard. Chui in Swahili. Karula till the end. So over to Mark.
Hi everyone. Well, we sat there with those elephants for a while. We couldn't see them. They moved into some relatively thick bush. It was awkward because I knew that if we were going to, especially with the tiny ones that they have, to try and push our way into those bushes would have maybe either irritated them or just pushed them off. So we had to leave them. I'm now actually going to make my way back towards Gari Dam. I'm on Gari Cutline. But I think it's fantastic that you've had some time with Karula. It's great, of course, always to be with her, but wonderful that she's found her way back here to Djuma, and hopefully we can get to see her a little bit more today, later this afternoon. My name is Mark. Andrew's been on camera with me this morning with a special guest, Tulani. He's been learning a few camera tricks. And I'll see you this afternoon. We'll go back to Karula. Bye everyone, love you lots.
So, back with Karula, who has literally not moved an inch since we went to Mark. Well, geez, it's been a fantastic last couple of drives. I mean, the wild dogs yesterday and finding my first leopard at Djuma this morning. And very fitting that it is Karula, the queen. I really am looking forward to getting to know the leopards in this area, especially Karula, and hopefully with a history of denning, heads up a little bit, with denning on Djuma for the last couple of years. Hopefully, if she does have cubs in the time we're here, that she chooses to use Djuma as a den again. It's always very exciting to get to know new animals and follow their lives, even if it is just for a short while. There we go, that's a nice picture where you can see the nice marula tree and the big termite round behind. So this is an ideal spot